Howdy y'all, I hope you're having a good day. Silver Trade here again with another video, and we're going to be all over the place as usual. XRT is at 473% short, which is a lot lower than we saw last week, but still almost 5 times higher than it ever should be. And it's not official that GameStop has bought Bitcoin yet, but with the MicroStrategy quote-unquote leak and just how much cash they have on hand, I think it is a safe assumption. And please remember, none of this is financial advice, and we are not financial advisors, and this video is made for entertainment purposes only. But in my eyes, I believe GameStop has already bought Bitcoin, and now we're just waiting for that to be official. 741 might be a lot more important than we ever thought. Back in 2013, GameStop had a good little run until about halfway into the year, maybe April or May. Took about 7 years, but then had a really good run in 2021 in January. 4 years after that, about 4 years after that, brings us to May of 2024, where we saw another really good run. And then 1 year from then, which is also 1 year from when Roaring Kitty first came back, brings us to April and May of 2025. He came back on May 12th, so tomorrow will be 1 year since then. And speaking of Roaring Kitty on his Reddit account very recently became a premium member. See, he's got nothing right here. And now there's a little shield. And this was 2 days ago. And people check this every stinking day. He's been hinting for a long time with achievements, and now this. Some people think that he might never return because of this V with Vendetta post, but I think that this just symbolizes him starting the movement. And GameStop just hit their 1 millionth PSA membership card in the first 7 months. That partnership has been amazing for both companies. Back in April of 2024 is when GameStop really started to see its first couple of green candles before its huge run. 1 year later, it has only been going up very slowly. It's been a grind up, but it's only gone up. And now, in April of 2025, 1 year later, is where we're starting to see these large green candles again. The last 4 weeks, GameStop has been held at the midline, but still above the 5-day moving average. This is textbook bullish consolidation. And on the weekly, the MACD just flipped green. On the monthly, GameStop is still holding above the 5-day moving average, which is amazing. And the TTM squeeze is about to flip green for the first time since 2022. Really 2021. On the daily chart, I mean, look at that. The Bollinger Bands haven't been this tight in, what, a year? Yeah, since the 2024 sneeze. The weekly looks great, the monthly looks great, the daily is breaking above the midline and bounced off the 5-day moving average with the Bollinger Bands incredibly tight. On the 4 hour, it's outside of the Bollinger Bands. And on the 1 hour, it just bounced off the 5-day moving average at 27.50. I mean, this thing looks so stinking bullish for next week. If they announce that they bought Bitcoin, that's going to make this thing stinking rip. And when you zoom out and look at the weekly, with Elliott wave, you've got first wave, pullback, second wave, pullback, and then now we're getting ready, after weeks of consolidation, for the third wave. Who doesn't know, the third wave is typically the largest and most powerful wave. This just came out about an hour ago, but US trade talks with China were productive, Bessett says. And if we have a 90-day pause on the tariffs with China, that's going to make all markets absolutely rip, and it will bleed over into GameStop. Last week, we had a stupid amount of puts being sold at insanely high prices. So somebody with a ton of money is very bullish on GameStop. No dates, but if I was a feline billionaire, I would put pressure on shorts T plus 35 from Ryan Cohen's last purchase. Time to see just how many shares they internalize to prevent a squeeze. I mean, there are so many things that are lining up right now. And I know I've been saying this for a year now, but there has never been more institutional ownership for GameStop than right now. The crazy thing is the number just keeps pumping up. And if you wouldn't mind, if you made it this far in the video, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. Thank you so much for all of y'all's support. Forward Capital, LLC, just bought another 75,000 shares of GameStop. along with Aleska Investment Group LP, invested $8.3 million into GameStop recently. The GameStop lines are back. I wonder why. And these guys were having a cookout at GameStop. I mean, how much stinking fun is that? Look at that. Sausage, steak, and eggs. Wow, this man is throwing down. Missouri is poised to become the first U.S. state to exempt stock sale profits from income tax or capital gains. What is capital gains tax? Capital gains tax is a tax imposed on profit made from selling certain types of assets, such as stocks, bonds, real estate, business, collectibles, and crypto. And for anybody who's holding Wolfspeed stock or maybe considering buying, I would love to show you this. On Friday, it had a really bad day. I mean, really bad. Like, it dumped 26%. But it still didn't go through the midline on the daily chart. It could definitely keep going down. But just a couple months ago, a whole bunch of banks bought a whole bunch of Wolf. And that was right around here, when Wolf was about $2 per share. Yeah, it went to like almost $5 per share since then, but I don't think that that's what those hedge funds and banks are looking for. Just a quick double. I think they see the value that a lot of people are not seeing, or at least did not see on Friday. On Friday, the off-exchange volume for Wolf was also over 1 million, almost 1.1 million. And the recent 8K filing is a real heads up. Wolf is a leader in the SiC technology essential for EVs, AI data centers, and more. Some of their main clients being GM, Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar and Rover, Ford, Tesla is one of their largest clients, and they secured a 5-year, $345 million contract for their semiconductors. And Borg Warren and Frisch, but they have a lot of really large clients. Remember, none of this is financial advice, but Wolf is too big to fail. On their last earnings call, they talked about scares of bankruptcy within the next 12 months. But in my opinion, that's not a real threat. They're closing down a few of their factories that are less profitable, and that's going to save them over $200 million per year. And they're also building new factories to make even nicer semiconductors even cheaper. Those chips and semiconductors are going to go into the Optimus robots that Tesla produces to take everybody's jobs. I mean, we have them in our GPUs. I mean, you remember back in 2022, chips are a huge deal. They just finished closing their Farmers Branch facility, and the next one they're going to close is their Durham facility. They're investing heavily into getting new factories operational. Right now they're burning about $200 million to $250 million a quarter. But when you're building these massive factories to supply Tesla, General Motors, and the rest, that's just part of doing business. Wolf right now, with a valuation of $500 million, still has $1.4 billion cash on hand. And remember, Wolf is an American company. And Trump definitely wants our chips and semiconductors to be built in America. Back in 2022 and 2021, when we were talking about the CHIPS Act and giving out money to these chip manufacturers, Wolf was up at $142 per share. On Thursday, it was at $4.50, but now it's down to about $3.10. And when you look at the 4-hour for Wolf, it's just beginning slapped down when it gets close to $5 per share. Why does $5 per share matter? Well, when it's under $5 per share, a stock is classified as a penny stock by the SEC. So many institutional investors have internal policies banning or limiting investment in sub $5 stocks. Brokerages and banks often require more collateral or restrict margin trading for stocks under $5 due to the risk. And it seems like Wolf hired somebody who's close to the president to hopefully get more money from the CHIPS Act. Check this out.
Yeah, we'll go one question at a time. We'll go around, we'll try and get through a couple of rounds of questions. So, Lauren, do you want to start us off? You got a question for Tom?
Yes, thanks. Hi, Tom. I was hoping you could, sorry for the background noise. I was hoping you could give us an update on where things stand with the CHIPS Act dollars.
I would say the same thing as earnings call with a little more data. Constructively engaged with the CHIPS office. Our project leader is still there. I think most people are aware that there's been reductions in the CHIPS office. And I would say that it's likely that the parameters of CHIPS funding, or what we call DFA, direct funding agreement with the CHIPS office, are likely to evolve some because the company has evolved and because CHIPS office is different and there's a new administration who we are constructively engaged with. So we would stick with summer. I would probably say late summer.
He expects to get some of that CHIPS money in summer or late summer.
Zach, go ahead. You had your hand up, and then Sean will come to you next. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So what is Robert's relationship with the current presidential administration? Is that an important factor in why you guys look to have him lead the company? And is that relationship critical towards Wolfspeed's success here in North Carolina?
The answer to your question is yes. The relationship between Wolfspeed Silicon Carbide and the White House is critical. Just let me say that they're well aware that it's an American-based company founded from North Carolina State, American IP, thousands of jobs, billions invested in critical to national security, including critical minerals, which was announced last week. So Robert comes into this well aware of that. His experience at Micron, I think, is very relevant here. He went to high school in Denver. His father worked at IBM. So he's well aware of the geopolitics and the American politics. Also, I would say that stay on as exec chair for a few months. And I have quite a bit of experience in this area. So I'll be supplementing Robert for a few months as we pass the baton and actively. In fact, I'll be in Washington, D.C. on behalf of Wolfspeed and behalf of our team Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
Wolfspeed and the US are getting steamrolled by China, and here's why Trump is going to take action. Back in 2021, Wolfspeed had a massive 62% global market share in the 6 substrates. Fast forward to 2024, Wolfspeed's market share has dropped to 33%. Meanwhile, the Chinese company called SICC, which had 2% market share back in 2021, is now up to 14%. Because China has gone all in on this space, the Chinese government is funneling cash subsidiaries and guaranteeing local demand to SICCs and others. This lets them scale up way faster than Wolfspeed can, even with all the factories that Wolf is building. Eventually, Trump is going to see that we're losing the semiconductor and the SiC race. In my opinion, I don't see him letting that happen. And the semiconductors and the SiC and the Chinese wafers that come from China are just not as high quality as Wolf. Wolf makes the absolute highest quality. Wolfspeed is expected to get about $750 million in summer, but before then, I think Trump's going to increase that number. And that would be huge for a stock with over 40% short interest. Thank you so much if you made it this far in the video. I hope you're having an amazing Mother's Day. Thank you, and God bless.